Dave, now I think we're going to get to the album we're going to agree on the least today, which is Imploding the Mirage by The Killers. And, the Killers are interesting. So last time we talked about them would have been Wonderful, Wonderful, which came out 2 years ago. Probably the
3 years
highlight.
ago.
3 years ago. Oh, my
17.
God. Jeez. And the highlight of that was definitely The Man, which has been put into a lot of songs.
The Taylor Swift song?
Sorry, a lot of stuff. Yes, they actually ghost wrote most of the new Taylor album. People don't know that fact, but no, The Man, it was in Vice, very prominent song for the release of that movie.
Right.
But when we talked about it, I think we found that it felt like the Killers had kind of just lost inspiration, just weren't really saying anything that was worth listening about, and just were making music that was pretty boring. But in the last 3 years, they've had some band members either totally drop out. Mark Stomer, their guitarist, is no longer with the band. And their bassist has kind of taken on the role of like lead guitar on a lot of these tracks, but has also been, discussing maybe not wanting to be a part of the band as much. And I think actually it stepped away from production of this album at points. So really it's just Brandon Flowers and the drummer, but this is a totally Brandon Flowers driven album. I think you can tell by lyrical content and aspiration, especially if you've listened to any Brandon solo stuff. It feels a lot like he was taking the formula of the Killers, but then bringing in that weirdness of his solo stuff to really meld it together. And I thought it totally worked. I think Imploding the Mirage is the best Killers album that we've gotten in, I don't even know, day and age, which came out, I think, 2008. So maybe in the last 10 years, 12 years.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, well, but I'm wondering, did you think it was any good?
This is just classic not for me music. Not a huge Killers guy in the first place. I like the big songs. I like Mr. Brightside, which is damn near has a billion plays on Spotify, kind of crazy.
As it should.
Yeah, somebody told me when you were young, like great stuff. But like after Sam's Town, I really have no connection to the Killers at all. So I also don't really have any expectations either. To me, the Mirage I saw when I was listening to this music in the car was just the monotony of Brandon Flowers' vocal delivery. He is
Really?
soft as fuck to me, and I can't get into it. It's like Vampire Weekend. It's like not even an indictment on the quality of the music. I just cannot connect.
Yeah.
Usually.
That's really interesting because a lot of the praise that has come for the Killers all throughout is that Flowers' vocals are just still top.
He sounds inspired. This is better than Wonderful, Wonderful, but it's also just this still doesn't do much for me. That's just my personal taste.
Yeah, it's funny when I think about the Killers. I was trying to think like who else is in their lane, or who else does what they do in the rock sphere right now. And I can't really think of anybody except for maybe the Foo Fighters, who they really make just anthemic songs. They just want to have rock. That. Yeah, they want to have that build up. They want to reach that crescendo. Brandon Flowers wants to be standing on the edge of the stage, like pumping his fists, like getting the crowd going. It's very Springsteen-like. And I think Imploding the Mirage feels like the Killers doing Springsteen light in a lot of ways, and that's kind of always been Flowers' like broad comparison. He's not even close to Springsteen's stratosphere, but kind of has similar things. He talks about these like very specific town metaphors in order to extrapolate bigger ideas. He makes these songs that have these build-ups and talk about women who are in these like dire situations and grow up in these impoverished places. So it's just kind of like I think while some of this stuff seems very familiar, there are some moments that seem pretty cool. And one moment that I really wanted to highlight for me was Dying Breed. It has like this like thumping, almost like it reminded me a lot of like LCD Sound System's North American Scum, or even off their most recent one, Oh Baby, where it was like the drums were really building up throughout and didn't have much variation, but they kind of built a soaring song off it, which I was like, oh, this is something I haven't heard from the Killers much. Or a song like When the Dreams Run Dry has like this weird breakdown in the second verse that almost feels like the song like Escape from like the 80s, like do you like pina coladas, whatever. It has like that like weird like island like breakdown, but I was like, you know what, this is them being weird, but it seems to fit and kind of make sense. And I think there's a lot here to like, and I'm really impressed with this. But was there any tracks that stood out to you? Anything that you liked?
Yeah, my favorite song was "My God" with Way's Blood. I really
Mm,
liked the way those vocals were mixed together,
wow.
and which is interesting because I don't really care for Way's Blood normally.
Yeah.
Definitely a much different type of music than this.
Hmm.
I think like the lead single "Caution," and I think actually most of this music is not offensive at all. It's completely inoffensive, and as you said, it's like Foo
Yeah.
Fighters. It's designed. This is almost designed to be performed with a group and in
Hmm.
front of people, right? And the Brain of Flowers of it all does make sense.
Right.
And he's actually spoken to how his drive is perhaps different than his bandmates because he's a lot younger than his bandmates.
Hmm.
And he's like, maybe if I was their age and it was reversed, I would actually feel differently. But you can tell that he's still pretty inspired. And I do think some of the lyrics do stand out because he kind of has a way of storytelling where he's kind of speaking in less matter of fact terms, more symbolism and stuff. So
Yeah.
I respect it. It's just not my jam usually.
Yeah. Caution is funny because that feels like the most like basic Killers. Just like
Yeah.
we're just gonna use the old school formula and just make a song with some new lyrics. But I think when they really take some chances on this, it comes out well. Like Lightning Fields, I really liked with Katie Lang. I thought like the back and forth with the Flowers and Katie Lang was really strong. Um, my own soul's warning was really good. Yeah, I think there's lots to like here, and it just feels nice to have the Killers kind of getting back to form in a way. So definitely an album I'd recommend checking out, and also check out our Nowstalgia Best of 2020 on Spotify, where we'll be putting a song or two from almost all the albums we talked about today.